Hi everyone. In the previous lectures, we started with our discussion on the course on microelectronic circuits. We started with our discussion on multi-stage amplifiers and cascode amplifiers. We said that cascode amplifiers, though they offer you very high gain, they come at the expense of voltage swing. Now, what happens if you want higher and higher gain? We said one option is to cascade multiple stages. But cascading multiple stages, even though it gives you high gain and high swing, the problem is each node of the cascaded amplifier gives you a pole. And generally, we will see at a later stage, when we have many poles and put them in a feedback system, then the feedback system has a tendency has the tendency for it to become unstable increases with the number of poles in the system. So it's always desirable to have one pole. One pole means unconditionally stable or as less number of poles possible. The thing with cascode amplifiers is that it just offers one dominant pole, one major pole at the output node. Every other pole will be at much higher frequency. Even though it has a good frequency response characteristic, the main problem with cascoding is reduced voltage swing. So shown here is a general transconductance amplifier model for any MOS-based circuit. Any MOS-based circuit, we have already discussed this in the course, in the introductory lectures on microelectronic circuits, can be represented as a dependent current source and a resistance in parallel. Now there are two ways in which you can increase the gain. Either increase your transconductance or increase your output resistance R out. So when you cascade multiple stages, when you cascade multiple common source stages, what you're essentially doing is that if you try to represent this entire thing as a single transconductance amplifier model, you will see that it's the transconductance which is actually increasing. The output resistance remains the same. But in case of cascoding, when you keep stacking more and more devices in a totem pole configuration, what you're actually doing is you're just increasing the output resistance. Your GM remains the same, which will be equal to the first transistor's GM, but your output resistance just keeps increasing as you keep adding more and more stages in the stack, more and more amplifiers in the stack. So shown here is a typical, this is a conventional common source, this is a cascode amplifier, and this here is a triple cascode amplifier. So the gain of a, I'm writing only the magnitudes right now. The gain is minus GM R0, but GM R0 is the magnitude. The gain of a cascode amplifier, here I'm assuming it's driving an infinite load, will approximately be GM times GM R0 square. So it will be GM R0 the whole square. And when you do a triple cascoding, you will get GM times GM R0 whole square times R0, so which is nothing but GM R0 whole cube. So I'm able to get higher and higher voltage gains, but for every addition of one transistor here, I lose one V overdrive. So that was the problem previously. What if I want even higher gain? Let's say a simple cascoding is not sufficient and I need even higher gain. We said we can go to triple cascode. Let's say we need even higher gain. So then we'll have to go for quadruple cascode, four cascodes. But the problem with that, you will keep reducing your swing further and further. So then, is there some way of addressing this issue? We want high gain, but it should look like a single stage amplifier. Okay, single stage amplifier offers you one pole, one dominant pole, but at the same time, not have the problem of reduced swing that a cascode amplifier can have, that a cascode amplifier has. So the answer to that question is gain boosting. To understand how gain boosting works, first we will revisit, I have already discussed this in the previous lectures when I was discussing cascode amplifiers, but we'll briefly revisit that cascode amplifiers and see where is it that we are actually getting that improvement. So first, this is a conventional common source. The output resistance of a common source is simply R01, the R0 of this output transistor itself. But in this case, in case of a cascode amplifier, the conventional cascode, what happens to the output resistance? the output resistance increases. How does the output resistance actually, how does this output resistance actually increases? So we'll look at that. To do that, we will start with our general approach. That is, we try to apply a small disturbance on the drain terminal and see how much current is drawn by this amplifier. Now, if I apply a small disturbance here, in case of a common source amplifier, we know directly the current here is given by delta V upon R01. R0 is the output resistance of this transistor. But here what happens is that you're applying delta V here. We will show in a few moments that a very small fraction of delta V appears here. A very small fraction of delta V appears here, and therefore due to that you will have some excess current flowing in this device, and that current will be given by delta V by R0. What I can do is, before I go ahead with the analysis, I can represent this cascode amplifier. The lower half, gate and source, are grounded, so there is no GM component. I can simply represent this with the resistance of value R01 as shown here. Now if I want to find the current flowing through this node voltage Vx, or the output node delta V, where I've applied the voltage delta V, all I need to do is just find out the current in R01. If I know that current, that's the same as the output current as well. Now, if I have to find the current across R01, I need to find what is the voltage across R01. Let Vs or delta Vs be the incremental voltage across R01. Now see here, if let's assume R02 was infinity. If R02 is infinity, even if I change this drain node voltage, what will be the current flowing through the circuit? If I apply a small voltage delta V and I'm monitoring the current through the device, look, I'm changing the drain voltage. I'm changing the drain voltage. I'm saying R0 is infinity. If R0 is infinity, and I'm changing the drain voltage, there will be no change in the current, right? Because if you see, the current change will be zero, right? So R0 models the finite output resistance, so there won't be any change. So therefore, it's the presence of R0, let's call it R02. Because of this presence of R0, your source node voltage undergoes some change. The moment source node voltage undergoes some change, then there will be a current in the device. Okay, previously there was no path for that, so that's why the resistance was infinity. Output resistance was infinity. But now in the presence of finite R0, the path, it's because of this R0, we are creating a path from here to this node. Now let's find out what is the source node voltage, the excess source node voltage delta Vs. To do that, I can simply apply potential division. So I have R02 here. So if you see, that current gets divided between, a part of it flows through the MOSFET, part of it flows through R01 here. So what is the impedance looking up into the source terminal? Drain is at delta V. Delta V is a fixed voltage, so we can treat it to be AC ground. If I'm looking into the source, the input resistance is going to be GM0. Okay, it's going to be 1 by GM2. So that's what I've written here. So it will look like a potential division circuit of R02 and 1 by GM2 parallel R01. That's the output impedance at this point. Now again, I can assume 1 by GM2 much smaller than R01, so I can ignore R01 here. So all I have is just a potential division between R02 and 1 by GM2. So the voltage here will simply be 1 by, approximately be, why is it approximate? Because I've ignored R01, 1 by 1 plus GM2 R02. Again, I can ignore this term 1 here, and it will be just delta V upon GM2 R02. So if you see here, it is simply, the voltage gain here is simply, the voltage ratio here is simply the ratio of this impedance divided by this impedance. So it is 1 by GM2 divided by R02, so you get 1 by GM2 R02. This is the transfer function. Okay, so now the question is, if I can see, so once I know this node voltage delta Vs, it's a small fraction of delta V, so which is nothing but delta V upon GM2 R02. So now the current flowing through R01 is simply this voltage delta Vs upon R01, which will simply be delta V upon, so this is the current here. I'm writing the expression for the current. So it will be delta V upon GM2 RO2 RO1. So that's the same current that's being drawn out of delta V. So therefore the output resistance will be GM2 RO2 RO1. Now this is something I had already derived when we discussed cascode amplifiers. Now what you need to see here is that the increase in the output resistance is seen here because the voltage here delta Vs is an attenuated or a much smaller fraction of delta V. So now the question is, if I want to, let's say, theoretically reduce delta Vs, what can I do? So here R01, let's assume, is fixed. That's determined by some other device. You don't have much control over that. If I can somehow reduce the impedance looking up here, okay, previously it was 1 by GM2. Can I reduce it further? If I reduce it further, then this node voltage delta Vs will become even smaller. If it becomes even smaller, then the current drawn flown through RO1 will also reduce, which means the current drawn from delta V also reduces. So that means the output resistance increases. So how do we reduce this impedance? So one quick way to do that is just to realize what we are doing here. I'm just going to exaggerate this part and amplify this part and show it here. So we have the impedance at this node is what we need to increase. So previously if you apply delta Vs, the current flowing through this was Gm times delta Vs. Now we'll use negative feedback and then take this voltage delta Vs and apply an amplified version minus A times delta Vs to the gate node. So previously gate was at ground. Now instead of keeping the gate at ground, I'm applying it through an amplifier. I'm taking this voltage and feeding it to the gate terminal, okay, with a gain of minus A. Now what is the voltage at this point? So this will be minus of A times delta Vs. So now if this gate voltage is minus A times delta Vs, what will be the drain, what will be the source current flowing in this device? So it will be Gm times VGS. VGS here is delta Vs into 1 plus A. So the total current that's being drawn here will be 1 plus A times Gm times delta Vs. So now what is the impedance seen at this node? What is the impedance seen here? I know that delta Vs by I is the impedance. So that impedance will be 1 by 1 plus A times Gm. 1 by 1 plus A times Gm, yes. So the impedance reduces by a factor of 1 plus A. Okay, so that's what I have shown here. So what we are going to do for this upper cascode transistor is that previously the gate was held at a fixed bias. Instead of that, I'm going to introduce an amplifier and take this node and feed it back to the gate. Now look at the circuit. Even let's for the time being forget about this impedance reduction. I'm using negative feedback here. So this amplifier is drawing zero current. Let's assume this it's a negative. In a few moments we'll look at the polarity of the feedback, but right now let's assume this is a negative feedback amplifier. Then can you say what will be the voltage at this node? What will be the voltage? This node is at Vref, and let's assume this A here is infinity. If A is infinity, what will be this node voltage? In a negative feedback system, if A is infinity, what will be the error voltage? If you recall, I have discussed any negative feedback system with some finite feedback. If A here is infinity, what happens to the error signal? So if let's say this is some Vx and this is a Vy and this I'll call it Vf, what will happen to the error goes to zero, right? This terminal will be zero, and yes, the feedback signal will be equal to Vx itself. So this node voltage will be Vref itself. So this node voltage will be Vref itself. And who is forcing that? Feedback is forcing this node voltage to be equal to Vref. If this node voltage is equal to Vref, the current drawn through RO1 is simply given by Vref by RO1. That's it. It is independent of delta V. because this feedback is not letting this node voltage be anything other than feedf. Okay, so we can also look at it that way. So therefore this current here becomes independent of delta V. So I can say this feedback is helping improve output resistance. So now we will, to understand this a little bit more deeper, I'll take you through some very simple circuits with some feedback, and we'll try to analyze and find out the impedances. So I've shown you 4 different circuits. You have to tell me whether they are negative feedback or positive feedback. If it is negative feedback, then we'll analyze the circuit. I told you guys already, positive feedback circuits, they don't work, they work only if the loop gain is less than 1. So generally we avoid positive feedback unless in some specific cases where we have to use them. So negative feedback is what we commonly use. So you should be able to say, given an amplifier or a circuit, whether it's negative or positive feedback. So let's first look at this one here. What kind of a feedback is this? So this is PMOS common source. Is it negative or positive feedback? So whenever you are given a circuit, just break the loop at a point. Just look for polarity. Break it at a point where the current drawn is 0 and apply a test voltage. Here it goes to a negative sign. So if you apply a positive voltage delta V here, this node voltage will decrease because the gain is negative. If this node voltage decreases, this is a PMOS common source amplifier. What will happen to its drain voltage? It's a common source. Gate decreases, so drain will increase. So now see here, you have traversed back to the same point. If it's in a regenerative feedback, if you increase this node will also increase. So then it's a positive feedback. The total phase shift in the loop should be negative. For a negative feedback system, the total phase shift in the loop should be negative or 180 degrees. Now here if you see, there is a negative sign here, so the phase shift here is 180 degrees. And one more, the common source amplifiers offers you a phase shift of 180 degrees. So total the phase shift is 0 or 360 degrees. So therefore this is a positive feedback amplifier. So we will not use this. Now see here, is this positive or negative feedback? What kind of a feedback is this? It's a negative feedback. So because if you break the loop at this point, you can see this is the phase shift here is 0 degrees and phase shift here is 180 degrees. So total loop phase is 180. So it's a negative feedback. Now we'll apply a small signal voltage. You are supposed to find out the small signal impedance seen into this node. The small signal impedance here looking up will be, if I apply a voltage delta V here, you will have a voltage of plus A delta V appearing here. So the VGS of this MOSFET, this is a common source amplifier, is A times delta V. So the drain current flowing through this will be GM times A times delta V. So what is the impedance? So this current here is 0. So that this current here, the current drawn from delta V, will simply be A times GM times delta V. So the impedance here is 1 by A times GM. Okay, it's a much smaller impedance. Now let's look at this circuit here. In this circuit, I have now in place of NMOS, PMOS, I have replaced it with an NMOS. So what kind of a configuration is this amplifier? Is this NMOS used in now? What configuration? Common source, common drain, common gate. Which one is that? Common drain configuration. So you know the phase shift is, input is at this point, output is taken here, it's a common drain configuration. So now the phase shift from here to here is 0 degrees in a common drain. Input and output are in same phase. And here the phase shift is 180 degrees. So what kind of feedback is this? Shown here. This here is a negative feedback. Right? The phase shift is 180 degrees, a negative feedback. On the other hand, if you look at this circuit here, I'm sorry, I forgot to invert the polarity. So in this circuit, if you see here, the phase shift here is 0 degrees and this is also 0. So this here is a positive feedback. So this cannot be used. We can use this circuit on the other hand to reduce the impedance. So now what will be the input impedance seen at this node? If I apply a voltage delta V here, a voltage of minus of A times delta V appears at the gate. So total VGS is going to be 1 plus A times delta V, and the current flowing through this will be GM into 1 plus A into delta V. So which will be the same current flowing here. So the impedance seen here will be 1 by 1 plus A into GM. Okay. So your transconductance, your input impedance seen at this node reduces by a factor of 1 plus A. Now let me ask you a simple question here. We have analyzed the input impedance for this circuit at this node. Okay. So for the time being, I'm going to open circuit this node. This node is open circuit. Let me ask, what do you think will be, if I apply a small signal voltage delta V here, what do you think will be the impedance looking in, or what will be the current flowing here? Or let me just, for the time being, let me just, for the, yeah. So I'm going to add a resistance here of value or not. What do you think, if I apply a voltage delta V here, what do you think will be the impedance seen into the source terminal? I'm looking into the source terminal here. So you don't have to do the analysis, just think intuitively. Let's assume this gain A here is infinity. If the gain A here is infinity, what will be this node voltage? It's a negative feedback system. So what will be this node voltage here? Vref, right? The negative feedback will ensure that since A is infinity, this node and this node voltage will be equal. So it will come to Vref. So the current flowing through the R0 is simply Vref by R0. Since this current is 0, the current through this PMOS is also Vref by R0. So now, if I apply a voltage delta V and try to measure the current, will the current be dependent on delta V? No, right? It won't have any dependence on delta V. So therefore, I can say, what will be the input impedance seen into the source terminal? Infinity, right? So even though I'm applying a finite voltage, the current drawn is 0. So the input impedance seen here is infinity. Okay, so that's it. With this knowledge, we will now come back to our circuit, which we have been analyzing a few moments ago. So what we did was we took a the cascode amplifier second transistor and built a feedback circuit around it. Okay, we built a feedback circuit around it. And we said that the looking in impedance at this node, has now become 1 by A times, so let this transistor be G2, GM2. That's the looking in impedance. So now can you tell me, if I apply a voltage delta V here, what will be approximate value of delta Vs? So previously I said this looking in impedance divided by RO2. So it will be 1 by A times GM2 RO2. Okay, times delta V. Is this okay, guys? I've just directly written it, but I'm sure it's a direct potential division between RO2 and the impedance at this node. The impedance at this node is 1 by A times approximately GM2. So the voltage, I'm applying delta V here. I'm asking you to calculate delta Vs. So delta Vs will be delta V upon AGM RO2. Is this fine? So that's the voltage at this point. So what will be the current flowing through RO1? That current will be delta Vs upon RO1. So what you get here is delta V upon AGM2 RO2 R1. So that's the current which is flowing through RO1 here. Okay, so your R out now increases by a factor of A times when you compare it with a conventional cascode. In a conventional cascode is GM2 RO2 times RO1. Now the output resistance gets multiplied by a factor of A. So that's what adding negative feedback to this amplifier does. Okay, that's what it does to the output impedance. Output impedance increases by a factor A. So now, in place of a cascode, I've just built a negative feedback around this second transistor, the cascode transistor. And what will be your short circuit transconductance? Approximately, if I short circuit this node, and measure the output current, what will that be if you ignore R naught 1? Approximately, can you tell me what will be I out in terms of Vi? So the current flowing here will be GM1 times Vi. So that same current will flow through the output as well. So your output I out will be GM1 times Vi. So transconductance remains the same, which is GM1, but output resistance increased by a factor of A. So your loop, the overall gain for this amplifier, the overall voltage gain of this amplifier at this node, it's going to be A times, which R out times GM. So that will be GM1, GM2, RO1, RO2 times A. If I assume all the GMs and R outs are same, it will be GM R naught square times A. Okay, so the gain is now getting multiplied by the gain of your feedback amplifier. Okay, that's which is used in the gain boosting. Okay, so this is how we attain high gain using this technique is called gain boosting. We'll talk about voltage swing in a few moments. But before that, another important question. Any amplifier, any MOS amplifier, if you are increasing the gain by increasing the output resistance, what condition does it put on the load? Can the load be anything? The load resistance? The load resistance, what can you say about the load resistance? Should be comparable or larger than the output resistance. R out should be RL should be greater than or comparable to R out. Otherwise, this amplifier will not give you sufficient gain, right? Otherwise, because any technique that we employ to increase the gain by increasing output resistance, we have to ensure the load that it is driving or the current source output resistance, which is actually serving this amplifier's bias current, should also be comparable or larger than the output resistance. So therefore, we should go for a gain boosted load. So this is a simple cascode load. We said for a cascode amplifier, we need a cascode load. Similarly, for a gain boosted amplifier, we need to go for a gain boosted load. So in the same way, this is the main transistor and this is the cascode transistor, and in the PMOS, I'm building an amplifier loop around it. So this is from gate to source, the phase shift is 0 degrees. And so I've put a negative sign here. So that is just to ensure that it's a negative feedback. So this is called a gain boosted load. Now we'll draw the complete amplifier. Shown here on the lower side is the gain boosted NMOS amplifier with a gain boosted current source load. I've written these two node voltages as VREF1 and VREF2. We haven't decided what this node voltage is going to be. In a few moments, we'll discuss what this node voltages VREF1 and VREF2 are. So now, since we have discussed gain boosting, we said that the advantage that a gain boosted amplifier offers you is higher gain but a lower swing. Swing will be now comparable to a conventional cascode, okay? But the gain is greater than this. Probably we might, if you choose A to be, let's say I choose A as GM R naught, then the gain will be comparable to a triple cascode. But here, if you see the swing is simply equal to the double cascode itself. But there are some conditions here that we'll have to satisfy. So we'll now try to figure out what is the voltage swing in case of a gain boosted amplifier. So before we understand the voltage swing, so first, what is the node voltage here? This node voltage we said is determined by the voltage we connect at this point. So that, because of negative feedback, will be close to VREF1. If this is VREF1, then you need at least V overdrive 2 to bias the second transistor. So what will be the minimum voltage at the output that you can go to? Can you say it is VREF1 plus VOV2? So that will be VREF1 plus VOV2 will be the minimum voltage that your output node voltage can go to. Now the question is, what will you choose VREF1 as? If I want comparable swing, comparable to that of a simple double cascode, let's say I want its swing to be comparable to a double cascode, what should be the voltage swing? What should be the value of VREF1? So let's say this is VOV1, this is VOV2. The minimum voltage the output voltage can go to is VOV1 plus VOV2. So if I want the swing to be comparable to a double cascode, a conventional cascode, then VREF1 should be VOV1. Okay, so in the steady state, this node is at VREF1, this node will also be at VREF1. Okay, that should be equal to VOV1. So what exactly is this node voltage VREF? We'll now look at that. So this amplifier, it's a differential amplifier. Input is differential, output is single-ended, but it's a differential amplifier. So there are two ways in which you can realize the input pair of a differential amplifier. This is an NMOS input differential pair, and this here is a PMOS input differential pair. Now we are already aware of something called a common mode voltage. That's the DC level at both these nodes that you need to ensure for this transistor or the transistors in this amplifier to remain in saturation. What is this minimum DC voltage needed at the gate terminal? See, you have to keep a current source in saturation, and also you have to keep this device in saturation. So the minimum DC node voltage needed here will be greater than 1 VGS plus 1 V overdrive of the tail transistor. 1 VGS to keep this transistor in saturation, and 1 VOVT to keep the tail transistor in saturation. Okay, so that's why I've written VGS plus VOVT. So that will be VOV plus VTN. So now if you see, I'm spending 1 extra VT. You need at least 1 extra VT on top of 2 VO drives to keep the transistors in this amplifier in saturation. So therefore, VREF1 cannot be any arbitrary number. If I use an NMOS input pair here, then VREF1 has to be greater than or equal to VT of the NMOS plus 2 VO drives. I'm just assuming VO drives to be same for this transistor and the current source, but it has to be more than that. So now, do you see a problem? The output voltage swing, we said, was VOV2 plus VREF1, and VREF1 is a huge value. It has to be 2 VO drives plus VT. So we are compared to a conventional cascode. By how much are we losing? We are losing, it is actually, here if you see totally, if I assume the overdrives are same, I'll need 3 VO drives plus VTN, whereas in a conventional cascode, it is just 2 VO drives. What I'm losing here is 1 VO drive plus VTN, almost 1 full VGS I'm losing. So therefore, it's not advisable to use an NMOS input pair. If I use an NMOS input pair for this amplifier, then I may not really get that advantage, full advantage in voltage swing. Now let's look at a PMOS input pair. In case of a PMOS input pair, the minimum common mode voltage needed here will be, you need to spend 1 overdrive at the tail transistor plus 1 VSG, source to gate voltage. So the common mode voltage, the minimum common mode voltage needed, you need to keep this guy in saturation and this guy also in saturation. Will be what? What will be that minimum? It will be VDD minus VSG minus VOVT. Okay? And the common mode voltage here should be less than that. Right? So if your common mode voltage is lower, then you get a larger voltage across the transistor and the current source. So both will be, satisfactorily in saturation region. So the lower the common mode voltage, the better are the chances for both these devices to remain in saturation. If you look at an NMOS input pair, the higher the common mode voltage, the better are the chances for both these transistors to remain in saturation, or the current source and the transistor remain in saturation. In case of a PMOS, this is the minimum value, this is the maximum value, but the lower the value, the better you are. So therefore, PMOS can operate at near ground common mode voltages. Okay, in theory, they can operate at very low input common mode voltages. So therefore, what will be your choice of amplifier topology for this amplifier? what will be your choice? Will it be an NMOS input pair or a PMOS input pair? PMOS differential pair. You'll choose PMOS because it can operate on a much lower common mode voltage. So this one typically it will be a PMOS common mode, PMOS input pair. Similarly, if you look at the upper half of the transistor, you need to spend 1 V overdrive here and of course 1 V overdrive here. But remember, this node voltage will come to Vref2. This node voltage will come to Vref2. Now the voltage swing at this node here, output node on the upper side, will be VDD minus, it will actually be VDD minus, or you can see, since you know this node voltage is Vref2, I can directly write this node voltage here will be Vref2 minus V overdrive. Okay, so the output voltage will be Vref2 minus V overdrive of this MOSFET. Now, if I want the output node voltage to go as high as possible, you want your Vref2 to be as high as possible. It has to be as close to VDD as possible. So which means your input common mode for this amplifier should be as close to supply as possible. So therefore, which amplifier will you choose for this one? For the load transistor, you'll have to choose NMOS input pair. Okay, so yes, so if you choose NMOS input pair for the load and PMOS input pair for the signal transistor, the signal path cascode amplifiers, then you will get wide swings. You can go to, on the lower side, you will be able to go to 2 VO drives. On the upper side, you will be able to go to VDD minus 2 VO drives. You can go, but provided you'll have to take these conditions, keep these conditions in mind. So you should choose your amplifier topologies accordingly. Okay, we will in fact talk about this in much greater detail when we discuss about CMOS operational amplifiers. But right now, I'm just giving you an idea how it's done. So very quickly, keeping these ideas in mind, we'll solve a few problems just to clear your understanding of the gain boosting. So let's try to calculate the gain of this amplifier. The amplifier here is shown here. Input is at this point, output is here. It's a gain boosted amplifier. What is the gain here? What is the gain of this amplifier? Let's assume GMs and R0s are same for all the amplifiers. So this one here is an NMOS. What is the gain for this amplifier? GM R0, right? So minus GM R0. Yeah, GM3R03 or GM R0. So is this a negative feedback? So it's a common source, its gain is negative. So this is a negative feedback. So what will be the gain of this amplifier? You can see that whenever you're taking a feedback signal from the source and feeding it back to the gate using some amplifier, then of course we can say it's a gain boosted amplifier. So you can directly write the gain as GM R0 square times A. So GM R0 square is the gain of the cascode times A here is the gain of the feedback path gain boosting amplifier. So that will be GM R0 square times A. A here is GM R0, so the gain will be GM R0 whole cube. Of course, you can analyze GM and R0 and find everything and calculate it. But now that we have already done that, the gain will be GM R0 cube. Is this fine? For a cascode, it is GM R0 the whole square. For this one with gain boosting, the gain boosting amplifier's gain is also GM R0. So it will just get boosted by this. So it will offer you the same gain as a triple cascode. Okay, it's offering you the same gain as a triple cascode. Now let's see here what will be the gain. Assume all the transistors are same here. So can you guys quickly tell me what will be the gain for this one? So Vi here, V0 here. So for the cascode, the amplifier gain is GM R0 the whole square. And now look at this gain boosting amplifier is also a cascode amplifier. So you'll have to multiply it by GM R0 the whole square. So you'll get whole power 4. So this gives you a 4 or quadruple cascode, okay, amplifier. So you'll get GM R0 the whole power 4. Now this one, this is called, it's again, it's an idea published in some paper in 2010s, I think around 2015. It's a very simple idea. It's called nested gain boosted amplifiers. So now, if you see here, there is gain boosting here, and this amplifier also has some kind of gain boosting. You're taking this output and feeding it back, okay? But this here is your main transistor. So can you tell me what will be the gain? We'll work step by step. So first, we'll try to find out, yes, so we'll try to find out the gain of this amplifier. So if you start from here, so what is the gain of this amplifier here? The gain of just this amplifier here. So this is again a gain boosted amplifier. So this here will be GM R naught whole square multiplied by GM R naught whole square of this guy. So that will be GM R naught whole power 4. So the feedback amplifier gain here is GM R naught whole power 4 and multiplied with the gain of your cascode. So that will be your overall gain. Okay, so that's it. So what we have discussed so far is a gain boosting amplifier from a single-ended amplifier point of view. Differentially, we will look at it when we discuss operational amplifier design. So what we have seen here is that gain boosting is a middle ground between multi-stage and cascode. The thing with cascode amplifiers is that as you keep stacking more and more devices, they have very good frequency response characteristic, which means they just offer a single pole, and and also they offer you high gain, and of course power is also safe. You just have one current to bias all the transistors in the stack. Okay, but high gain, good frequency response characteristic, therefore it's preferred. But the only reason why it has the major disadvantage it has is reduced voltage swing. As the gain increases, voltage swing decreases. That's where gain boosting comes into the play. You can use gain boosting and get as high a gain as you will get in multi-stage cascode, but without losing on the voltage gain, provided you take care as to what kind of amplifiers that can be used in the feedback here. Okay, so that's it on discussion on gain boosting amplifiers. We'll talk more about the frequency response and all of that in the upcoming lectures. Thank you.